I'm sure you've seen moments from this interview that Donald Trump sat down for with Sean Hannity. And we need to go through it extensively, though, because there's so much. I doubt you've seen all of them. And as I was watching some of this, it's genuinely difficult. How many terrible things he fits into one interview. It's almost impressive if it weren't so terrible. So let's go through and just, we're going to have to bear through this. We will start with the big subject we keep coming back to, but again, there's a lot of different topics touched on here, which is January 6th. And Hannity, as terrified as he sounds, just terrified to ask some of these questions, having to caveat it with, well, I know you said that you were going to do this, but I mean, is it really okay to attack police officers violently? He does actually ask about it, I guess to his credit. And Trump's answer is meandering and offensive. While you watch, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate this show.
So you did run on a platform. You were very straightforward. You said you would pardon these people that were sentenced for January 6th.
No, totally.
You did. The only criticism or pushback I've seen is about people that were convicted or were involved in incidents where they were violent with police. Why did they get a pardon?
Number of reasons. Number one, they were in there for 3.5 years, a long time.
Right.
And in many solitary confinement.
Causing bodily harm to a police officer intentionally can get you way more than 3 years. Up to 20, actually, is what you can get for such an act.
Treated like nobody's ever been treated so badly. They were treated like the worst criminals in history. And you know what they were there for? They were protesting the vote because they knew the election was rigged and they were protesting the vote. And that you should be allowed to protest a vote. You should be allowed to. You know, when the day comes...
But you shouldn't be able to invade the Capitol.
No, ready? Most of the people were absolutely innocent. Okay, but forgetting all about that, these people have served horribly a long time. It would be very, very cumbersome to go and look. You know how many people we're talking about? 1,500 people. Almost all of them should not have been, this should not have happened. And the other thing is this, some of those...
What are you doing, Sean, by the way? What are you nodding to? Trump's argument is partly they were treated so poorly, and partly that it would be too cumbersome, he says. It takes too much time. I know I have millions of people literally working for the branch of government that I'm at the top of, but it would take a lot of manpower to have to go through the cases before deciding if I pardon them. How about, for simplicity, I agree. You know what? I agree. How about you just don't? Well, it's already over, but you know what would save you time? Just don't pardon any of them. Even easier.
Some of those people with the police, true, but they were very minor incidents, okay? You know, they get built up by a couple of fake guys that are on CNN all the time.
Nobody watches.
They were very minor incidents, and it was time.
Minor incidents. Because we have so much to go through, I don't want to spin out over that. But it's one thing to lie to your followers, causing them to attack the Capitol. It's another thing for them to, in the process, violently attack police officers. It's another thing for you to then pardon them. And then it is a whole nother level of demented to say to people who have life-changing impact, some who lost their life in the wake of it. Suicide over the trauma as well. And to say to them and their families, it wasn't that bad. You stubbed your toe. It's twisted. And the fact that this is our new normal, we can't treat it as such, but it is, cannot be understated. Continuing on the same topic.
And the other thing is this, some of those people with the...
And that clip is actually a double up, so we'll move forward from it. One little ironic moment that a lot of people pointed out, he did their dumping prisoners and stuff into our country bit again. But think about this given recent news.
Of them, I think 48%, they say, killed more than one person, and they're walking around. They came out of jails from other countries. And, people, they've emptied their jails. I would, if I were the president or prime minister or something of another country, I'd empty my jails right into America, into the United States. Why not? And many of them did it. If you look.
For so long, we fact-checked this and said, what are you talking about? What prisoners are being dumped? Big, massive dumps of prisoners, as he might say, and disputed it. But now, I guess we do have an example of a president dumping prisoners into our country. Him. He just did it. A lot of people point this out, but let's see. Patriot Take saying Trump just emptied the jails of all the January 6th rioters, dumping them into the country. So we found one such incident. It just doesn't have to do with the border. Then indicating here he is ready, willing, and able to go after his political enemies.
He pardoned everybody, but he didn't pardon himself. And remember this, those people that he pardoned are now mandated, because they got a pardon, to testify, and they can't take the fifth.
Should Congress investigate that?
I think we'll let Congress decide.
Would you want the Attorney General to investigate it?
I was always against that with presidents and Hillary Clinton. I could have had Hillary Clinton a big number done on her.
Have you changed your mind?
And I didn't want to. Well, I went through 4 years of hell by this scum that we had to deal with. I went through 4 years of hell. I spent millions of dollars in legal fees, and I won. But I did it the hard way. It's really hard to say that they shouldn't have to go through it also. It is very hard to say that. Joe Biden, remember this.
And then he continues on. What is he saying? He's saying that even though he's lying about the specifics of this, he's alleging, as we walked through before, that Democrats engaged in a witch hunt, an illegal witch hunt against Donald Trump. It wasn't about holding him legally accountable. It wasn't independent prosecutors doing that. There was a coordinated effort to put him in prison wrongfully. So he's saying when he goes, I think they should be put through that despite it not being what he did go through, he would actually like to put them through that. And it would actually be a witch hunt. It would actually be wrongful. That's what he's saying. So just in this interview and his True Social post we reviewed where he said, he just posted about this. I know he said it many times, but he posted again saying that MSNBC shouldn't have the right to broadcast. You have someone promising, this is what confuses me about people going, oh, why are you saying he's authoritarian? That's so needlessly provocative. What do you describe that as? Someone who goes, yeah, I think I should get my attorney general to target, or at least I'm leaving the option open, people wrongfully. And I also think that media outlets I don't like should be removed of their rights. His words. It's not hyperbole to say this is not someone who values the American principles that presidents should value. Then going on to his attacks against California, lies, and confusion.
You meet with Gavin?
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. Look, Gavin's got one thing he can do. He can release the water that comes from the north. There is massive amounts of water, rainwater and mountain water that comes due with the snow.
We're still trying to figure out what water is, but we'll let you know.
Comes down as it melts. There's so much water, they're releasing it into the Pacific Ocean. And I told him, it's a political thing for the Democrats. I don't know.
I played the tape. You said it to him in front of him in 2018.
I said it to him in front of the media and everything else, and nobody talks about it. The media never picks it up. You put it out. I was so happy to see that tape because some people said, is that possible? They have water coming down from the Pacific Northwest, which has a lot of water. So much water that they'd have to let some of it go at some point. They don't need reservoirs. They don't need
so much water, and it's so wet from the standpoint of water. We've already fact-checked this, so see that past discussion and going through some of the lies about the wildfires. But here he continues on them.
And I said, I don't think we should give California anything until they let water flow down into their...
From the north to the south.
This is a political thing. I don't know what it is. You know, they talk about the Delta smelt. It's a little tiny fish like this.
I went out.
They say it's an endangered species. Well, how is it endangered? No wonder it's endangered. It's not getting any water.
So it's become very clear that either he dishonestly is misasserting something or has no idea about the California water system, because that has nothing to do with the problems that California is dealing with these wildfires. Experts on the issue, relevant officials have time and time again tried to clarify this for Trump, but he keeps telling the lie because he's more interested in the political attacks over anything else. He continues.
The hydrants didn't work, and they're not practicing the science of forestry, which is...
sprinklers didn't work in the homes because they had no water. Think of it. We have sprinklers. Think of it with no water. They didn't have any water. The fire hydrants, yeah, believe it, hard to believe. The place has sprinklers. It's nice. But
it's nice. Sometimes I just light a match up next to the little sensor so that I can take a little sprinkler shower. It reminds me of childhood. Very nice. Yeah, so let's see. There are real issues. He just doesn't understand them and is misattributing all sorts of things. And so that's important to call out. Sorry, let me play this beginning part because there was something else that...
The hydrants didn't work, and they're not practicing the science of...
There it is. Yeah, again, they just don't seem to care. I've walked through the criticisms of the fire chief of the LA government. I've walked through criticisms of the state government, and there are real ones. As is always the case with managing disasters, you need to hold people to account and require improvements. Always. Yep. Doesn't justify blatantly lying, though. It doesn't justify saying we're not going to give aid to California, even though they fund the federal government a ton in ways that subsidize red states who get more back in federal government subsidies and taxes than they pay into the system. So it's really just giving their own money back for the purposes of recovering, but we're not going to do that until they make concessions on issues that we want, as Mike Johnson's been saying, and changes on things that we really don't understand. This shows you that there are good reasons to criticize leaders in spaces and places when disasters happen. And when the Democrats are the ones that you're going to levy criticisms and request improvements, demand improvements, great. But clearly it's not Republicans who should be the alternative we select, because they can't even get their head around what the issues are and are just making up stuff. Then Hannity seems sort of passionate about being against TikTok, and given that Trump is now for TikTok, there was a back and forth over that.
people want to buy it.
But those that say they know say it's a spying app for the communist Chinese.
But
so,
everything.
And just to finish up on the last thing, he mentioned the reason I went into that whole thing is because he mentioned they don't do forest management. Not true. Not true. Under the big bad Gavin Newsom, from Hannity's perspective, under his time as governor, they've increased investments by a ton. We looked at the particulars in a past discussion in wildfire prevention, including forest management.
People want to buy it.
But those that say they know say it's a spying app for the communist Chinese.
But but you can say that about everything made in China. Look, we have our telephones made in China for the most part. We have so many things made in China. So why don't they mention that? You know,
Let me get to
the
some
interesting
issues.
thing with TikTok, though, is you're dealing with a lot of young people. So
They love it.
is it that important for China to be spying on young people, on young kids watching crazy videos and things?
I don't want China spying on anybody.
No, but they make your telephones and they make your computers and they make a lot of other things. Isn't that a bigger threat?
I'm sure that'll be part of your discussions with President Xi, which I'm going to talk about in a moment.
Did he say President Xi? So smart, so terrific. He rules with an iron fist. So smart, so great. As Trump would say. This next thing is wild. Trump seems to suggest that he's going to do away with FEMA. Huh?
Now, I will say that Los Angeles has changed everything because a lot of money is going to be necessary for Los Angeles. And a lot of people on the other side want that to happen. And
North
they want
Carolina,
it to happen
too.
fast. Well, they don't care about North Carolina. The Democrats don't care about North Carolina. What they've done with FEMA is so bad. FEMA is a whole nother discussion because all it does is complicate everything. FEMA has not done their job for the last 4 years. You know, I had FEMA working really well. We had hurricanes in Florida. We had Alabama tornadoes. But unless you have certain types of leadership, it gets in the way. And FEMA is going to be a whole big discussion very shortly because I'd rather see the states take care of their own problems. If they have a tornado someplace and let that state. Oklahoma is very competent. I love Oklahoma. 77 out of 77 districts. And that's.
So, what? Okay. Here's some breaking news to a lot of MAGA folks maybe who don't understand this. It is blue states, as I mentioned before, who disproportionately are paying more into the federal government budget than getting stuff out of it. And it is red states who disproportionately are receiving more support across not just FEMA, across all things, than what they pay into the system. So right now, red states benefit from the strength of the blue state economies and the tax dollars that produces. And so in a situation with all sorts of things, when they talk about getting rid of the Department of Education and getting rid of here potentially FEMA because states should figure out this stuff on their own, they think it's another example of, oh, see, here goes the liberals. They hate everything that Trump proposes, so now we love it. No, we hate this for you. We want you to benefit from being subsidized by blue states. And so we don't want you to be in a crisis moment and you don't have the funds or manpower or crisis management necessary to recover or prepare and don't get the support from the federal government. We want you to get that support. We care about you as much as you spit in our faces. We care about you. So this would only be bad for, not only, but this would be bad for so many states. But it's another example of the misunderstanding about what these federal organizations do. And no, leaving a state like Oklahoma or any other state, the states impacted by the hurricanes, and up to just, all right, deal with it yourself and not getting support by the federal government, by FEMA, is a ridiculous, ridiculous prospect. There really is more. At one point, he talks about the JFK files, and he's sort of, oh, we're gonna maybe do it, but we're also gonna not. Maybe also in addition to, okay, he just kind of blah blah blah, says a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and then he does talk about how he gave Fox News the letter that Biden wrote to him, which I find a little bit strange, but that happened in one interview. That many terrible things. This is our life now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Support the show. Get the members only bonus show by clicking that join button below.